Let's go to Michele's screen. Okay.
Thank you, Samantha.
And then I'm going to hide in the background.
Yeah. Good. So, okay, just let me have a look at. Okay, so thanks Samantha and everybody for the nice introduction. So today we're going to talk about how to document research software, and we have a couple of topics to talk about. We'll discuss first about what we want from the documentation, right? So why we do that, why is documentation important? Then we're going to talk about some tools and solutions to the problem of documenting your code, and we'll discuss pros and cons. Then we are going to talk about how to write documentation in your code, how to write README files. We'll have some exercise and some examples on that, and then we are going to be to do something more complex. So we are going to see how to generate beautiful documentation like the one for many Python projects through Sphinx. And we'll also talk about how to host that documentation on GitHub, okay? So that people can go on the web and see the documentation of your that you've written just going on the web and GitHub in particular. So first thing is just a moment. Motivation and wish list. So if you go to the first episode in the lesson, okay. So what would we like to have in the code, and why we would like to document our research code? Do you have any opinion, Tianyu?
Well, for me, if it's a small project for myself, I would do some documentation in case I forget stuff after several days or a week or even months. If it's a project I'm collaborating with people, it would be more important to have good documentation. It would make it easier for your colleagues or your collaborators to work with you.
Yeah. And of course, just let me interrupt you. Our listeners, our audience, well, you can write whatever comes into your mind regarding this in the collaborative notes. So please add any consideration there. All right. So the idea is for this lesson in general is that we talk a bit about the topic, but you can also write at the same time some comments in the notes, and then we will typically go to the notes and have a look and see how people have written comment on that. So we'll try to keep it interactive in this way. You write something in the note and we comment on it, and we praise you for your courage in writing something there. Okay. So yeah, the first interactive activity we have here is describe why you wouldn't want documentation. We have already mentioned some reasons why. And also, there's a second question. Once we've defined why we want documentation, how would you describe a useful documentation body, let's say, okay? And there's also another question. How can you motivate your colleagues to contribute to the documentation? Okay, this is actually something which is still useful if it's a collaborative project and there's many people involved. Yeah, how do you make that easy, and how do you motivate people to do this, to write documentation? Okay, so let's maybe wait some seconds here and see what people come up with in the notes in the collaborative part, and then we'll also show our motivations. Okay, adding to what Tianyu has just said.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can start commenting a bit on what we see, right? On what we see in the pad, in the notes. Well, yeah. So I and all others can understand at any future time what we were doing and why we're doing it in this way. So this is in the why section. Okay. And yeah, so like future-proofing your understanding. Future-proofing your understanding is a very important thing.
Yes, and get a paper published. I guess that's a good reason, a big reason at some time.
So basically, starting writing something in the documentation in some form so that you can then put that into the paper, into a paper. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Projects are living things. Yeah. So people come and go, and yeah, it's a way to future-proof the code also when not only for your understanding but also for other people, for for whomever may join in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Otherwise, you may need. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a good documentation, you may need to explain things to different people multiple times. Then
Yeah, that's an important thing. Yeah. And so, how would you describe a useful documentation? Yeah. So easy.
Sorry
Okay.
to
Easy
interrupt.
understanding. Yeah.
Can you share the notes, or
I can share the notes.
what you want me to share the notes?
No, I can share the notes here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do now. Just yeah. Wait, these are actually I need to scroll down a little more. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I see that well, useful documentation needs to be easy to understand. Yeah, so need to make few assumptions on what people know. Yeah, well, I mean, I have something to say about that, I think. And then also appropriate to the scale of the project be documented. That's cool. I mean, if you don't want to write too much for a small project, you don't want to write too little for a big project, I guess. Yeah, and how can you motivate your colleagues to contribute to the documentation? It's actually, yeah, there's about cake on Friday. Maybe, more in general, some social repercussions for those who don't contribute. No, I see.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe we can have a look at our what we would recommend. Wait a moment. So our motivations. Well, you will probably use the code in the future and may forget details. You may want others to use your code, and you may want others to contribute to the code. This is also an important thing. So contributions to many open source projects actually happen first through documentation. People will use your code, read the documentation, find that something maybe it's not well documented, or because that's actually very difficult to keep the documentation up to date, and that's the usually first problem that people find with the code. It's okay, there's a problem here in the documentation. It doesn't say this, or it's not up to date. So they may actually open a pull request on your documentation. On your documentation. That's the first way that they interact and contribute to the code. Okay, and that's the thing that Jianyu mentioned, that it's very useful to have a list of questions or a list of problems that have been already solved, let's say, and their solution in the documentation, so that you can save your time and also the time of your colleagues from helping people in trivial ways. It's very nice to help people, but maybe if we can do away with some repetitive work, sometimes it's nice. Okay. So what do we expect from a suitably good documentation? Okay. So it very depends on the goal of the documentation, right? So maybe do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would say, well, documentation are in different forms, but we have actually have a good picture here showing different types of documentation. Yeah, this is from the company Devio, and the author of this this is the documentation itself. They divide the documentation into 4 parts here. The 4 quadrants here you can see in the picture. The tutorials, how to get, reference, and the explanation. So reference means, usually it means the automatically generated API reference. It has information about the interface and the doc strings of a function, a method, or module. And then how to get its problem oriented. If you have a certain problem you want to solve, you can check out this kind of documentation. It usually involves steps showing how to solve the problem, step 1, step 2, and so on. Basically,
very practically, yeah.
Yeah, very practically. You don't need to know exactly what each step is doing, but by following this documentation, you probably will solve your problem. And then tutorials also very common. It's learning oriented, basically telling you what's the best practice, what's the process, and what kind of techniques here you use to solve certain problems. The last one is explanation. It's understanding oriented. My understanding is it involves the design logic of a certain project, maybe also the history of a project.
Yeah, so it's a more general. He has a more scope which is wider, let's say. And I think
Yeah.
in the research software, this has very much to do with the research domain, as you mentioned, right? So
May also involves domain knowledge, especially if it's a multidiscipline project. Then it gives you some explanation of the domain knowledge.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of having these 4 quadrants is also because different people, or even the same people in different parts of in different at different times, may need something different, right? So someone may more experienced developers, more experienced people may actually need just a reference. Some beginners may need a how-to guide, just because I want to do something simple. But people that have no domain experience or no domain knowledge, they may need some explanations, some more tutorials, and so on, right? I guess it's the point is different people need different things, and these are like kind of taxonomy of documentation types.
Yeah.
Okay, and so as we mentioned here, there is no one size fits all. Okay, often, right, a README may be enough. Okay, but and that's something we recommend to start with. But yeah, different people, different kinds of user may need different things, and you need to be aware of this when you write documentation if you want that to be useful to each one of these different users. Okay. So I would say, because we have a lot of stuff to cover, okay, we would have a another collaborative exercise here about a wish list. But I think we could skip the exercise and comment on what we would like to have. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
Huh? Okay. So what would you like to have in the documentation? How would you like to develop it, and what are the practices you would like to adopt? So I will just here unfold this, and yeah, because we have quite some things to touch upon. Versions, right? Versions are important. So if you have a long running software project that evolves over time, okay, its features may change, and so the documentation itself should change with the code. So a version of the documentation should match the version of the code, okay? This is especially true for reference, right? For the reference, for things like explanations or like more like domain specific things. This is not special. This is not necessary, but actually for things that relate to the code, like more precisely, you need to have version control. So you need to version control your documentation with the code. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Then there's this about one thing. Chanyu, whenever you want, you interrupt me. Right? It's just that I'm going to go through this. Just so documentation should be placed and tracked close to the source code. Okay, but why we want that? Because it's if you keep it this way, it's easier for the developers to contribute to documentation and to make sure that these things are kept in sync. Okay. Yeah. So another thing is, please use a standard markup language. By markup language, we mentioned, for example, the Markdown. It's called Markdown if it's we call it a markup language here. Markdown is not typically exactly a markup language, I think technically, but still, it's something that you can write using the same editor and yeah, same editor that you use to write code, and also the same. You can use the same tools that you use to version your code. Git, yeah, for example. You can do Git diffs of your documentation as well as the code, right? And here we mentioned two different formats, file formats, which are plain text files, the plain text file formats, which is restructured text and Markdown. We'll comment on the difference between these two in later. One thing we want to, I think it's important is these are plain text file types. And one thing which is not a plain text file type is, for example, Word documents or even PDF files. Okay, so you can still generate PDF files from documentation, but these things should not be the main source of the documentation. I will we'll talk about this also later. Other
Yeah,
things?
but we see PDFs. Actually, it may be good for some like user manuals. I think people in some domains use PDF a lot, but yeah, it has some disadvantages here.
Yeah, for example, it's difficult to copy paste out of a PDF document. So if you have like a code snippet in a PDF document, it's typically hard to copy paste. There's actually another thing written by humans. Maybe now it's a bit. I mean, would you use AI to write documentation?
Well, to be honest, I would use.
Yeah.
AI could actually do many kinds of documentations. The 4 formats we mentioned before, AI can do all of them. But I think we need to clarify a bit here. Automatically generated documentation, we mean the API documentation extracted from the doc strings or function interfaces. It's not the AI generated. But
Yeah.
of course, AI generated documentation is also automatically generated.
But
Yeah.
it needs. I think it needs still to be reviewed by a human. But yeah, I think here we are saying yeah, the reference documentation that the tools you use generate, like, and we'll see later. Well, these are not enough. You also need some kind of prose. You need also some kind of something written by in plain English or plain
Yes.
natural language, let's say. I think that also there are some other things that needs to be added to the documentation. So installation instructions, it can be just a pip install, just a simple command sometimes. Okay, but depending on the domain you come from, and the tooling you're using, maybe the installation instructions are much more complicated. And then please, that should be written, documented precisely. And that's one thing. And yeah, so step-by-step instructions are actually very welcome. There's another thing about licenses. Okay, yeah, it's licenses should be in the repository of the code. That's true, but it's nice if in the documentation you specify which kind of a license you are you are licensing your code with.
Yeah.
And also, if someone is if you want people to contribute to your code or to your project in general, you should give them some guidelines how to contribute to my code. So should I open a pull request? Should I open an issue and then we discuss? So there are different ways people work on code and on the project, and it's better to point these things out in explicitly in the documentation in some way. Okay.
Yeah, at different stages, you may want people to contribute in different ways. So yeah, that also means documentation is something you need to iterate.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Also, there's this about there's different ways why documentation can change over time, and you should version control it. It's not just that the code changes, but also that the documentation itself can be improved, and that it should be under version control.
Yes.
So here in the notes, there are there's a checklist. So in principle, well, you could use this checklist to compare this with some projects that you have or that you're using and see if actually those those documentations have all these entries in them. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. Okay, popular tools and solutions. So what are the tools that people can use for this, and what are the trade-offs there? And the objective here is that if we do a brief review of what is available, and then you can choose what is the best thing for you. So in code documentation, this is a big thing. It's code. Code has, you can write comments there. There's yeah, there's a lot to be said about this, but we are going to talk about this later, so I'm not going to spend much time here. Okay, so README files. The advantage of using README files compared to other things is that, well, they are versioned. They stay in the same repository as the code. It's often enough to have a readme.md Markdown or README in restructured text. RST stands for restructured text, and yeah, so it's a very typical thing to have a README in your code. So talking about this two different formats, here in the notes you see that there are these two, there's like a side-by-side comparison of a very simple example of Markdown. So you may be actually familiar with Markdown because, as I said before, this is the same format that we use in our collaborative notes. Okay, you see that they have sections and subsections. They start with a hash or the double hash and the triple hash or a quadruple hash, depending on the nestedness you have for the section. Then paragraphs are simple. You can have code blocks or indented bits that can be quotations or code blocks. You have standard ways to for bold or italics. You can make lists, okay, and there can be also number lists, and there are ways to put in images, links, tables. We'll see a bit about this. In the restructured text, you have very similar mechanisms. The thing that at least in this little example, they look very similar, okay, except that you have some additional punctuation that you need to add. So restructured a full example of a structured text file can look quite full of little punctuation that is very significant for the formatting. So the idea is that restructured text has more features than Markdown, but Markdown is simpler. Okay, there are many flavors of Markdown. Unfortunately, things are possibly improving in the last decade or so, in the sense that people have come up with some kind of um, standards, and so now things that you write and appear and look good on GitHub, they may also look quite normal, quite as expected on GitLab, for example. So there are these two, or Bitbucket. If you have a README and you want it to appear consistently in different platforms, nowadays more or less, it's yeah, to an extent is almost guaranteed. But at the beginning it was not so. Okay. Yeah. So in our case, for this, when we are going to talk about Sphinx and the documentation generation, we are going to use a flavor of Markdown which is called MyST, which I don't remember what it stands for, but it's a kind of hybrid between Markdown, which is very simple, as Markdown is, but it has some some features of a structured text. That's why MyST is. It reminds a bit of restructured text. So, so these are we mentioned READMEs, how to write them, what are the formats you may have, okay, and another piece of the puzzle, another piece of technology that we need to talk about are HTML static site generators. So these are tools that take your Markdown or structured text files and then they output HTML file. So basically documentation that you can host on the web. Okay, there's many of them. There's Sphinx, which is the one that we are going to talk about. There's Jekyll, which is the one that GitHub uses by default. There's PKG Down, which is something which is very popular in the R community. I think that if you're writing documentation for an R project, you typically use PKG Down or things related to that community. There's mkdocs, which is something which is getting more and more popular nowadays, I think. And there's many of those. And yeah, so if you want your HTML static site to be visible to the web, then you can host it in different places. GitHub Pages, we'll see GitHub Pages. Bitbucket Pages is really similar, and GitLab Pages as well. It's yet another flavor, the same thing, a service that allows you to host HTML documentation on the web. Yeah. Other things, there are some things we are not going to talk about much is our wikis. Wikis are easy to interact with typically, especially for non-developers. But the problem is that they are not version controlled with the code. So that's something which is a bit suboptimal for us. Other formats, LaTeX and PDF, we can, so Sphinx can generate PDFs for you, and many of these documentation generators can actually create a PDF output or even just a LaTeX output out of your Markdown file. So there's a way to convert this. But as we said, PDF has some little problems for us, so we're not going to talk about this further. Yeah, and Doxygen is yet another documentation generator that takes some kind of information and generates HTML files out of this. The cool thing about Doxygen, for those who have never heard about this, is that it auto-generates API documentation, typically for C and C++ code, but also for others, for other languages. And Sphinx can also do that. So the idea is that many of these tools, they not only generate HTML code, HTML documentation starting from Markdown, but they can also scrape your code and look for comments, some special comments, and create an API reference for this, exactly like Doxygen does. Okay, and yeah. Okay, so I would say let's move on and go to the next one, which is about in-code documentation.
Yeah, that's
anticipate that.
probably the first place you write some documentation because it's just next to your code. We can see well, the regular comments is the most commonly used one. We can see different types comments as shown here, comment A and comment B. Which one do you think is more useful?
Well, I think it depends on the person, right? So if someone does not know how to code at all, okay, then the first comment would be, okay, so it explains me what the code is doing, right? But if instead I know what the code does, okay, more or less because I can read Python, okay, then I think the second one, which tells me the second one tells me more information, gives me some background, I would say. And we should always try to write comments for those who can already code, I think.
Yeah,
So I
we
think
should assume.
I like comment to be more.
Yeah, we should assume that the users know about a certain language.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a regular documentation, a regular comment. We can, we can write the comment in a more standard ways, which is called doc strings.
Let me scroll down.
Yes. Yeah, doc strings are gives more information about your code. As we can see some examples with regular comments in Python, R, or the other languages. They come with different format, but the purpose is the same. For doc strings, for example, for Python, the doc strings will look like this. You give some information about the purpose of this function or method, and what's the input, what is the output. Should we show
Yeah, and
another
actually,
language?
so actually this is restructured text. Doesn't look like, but it's actually a string of text written in restructured text that then Sphinx can extract it. Can look at, for example, R, I guess.
Okay, that's that's the standard format for ours. Doc comments. Then maybe
Yeah, for
also
this or oxygen too. So this is a particular yeah. So oxygen is like the oxygen for R though. Yeah.
it also has input, output, and other explanations of the code. Yeah. So with this kind of format, some tools like Sphinx can extract the information from here to generate a well API reference documentation for us.
And we will see this later in the hands-on.
Yes.
Should
we move on?
Yeah. So yeah, I think we have mentioned everything here.
Yes.
Right. I guess there was a mention about comments in the code. There's the people that do with commenting. I also do it quite a lot. That I misuse comment to just silence code. Yeah, that's something we know that we shouldn't do that. I think that yeah, it's better to avoid this.
I also do a bit, but it's not recommended. We should use Git version control instead of this.
Yeah, instead of like keeping zombie code just in case, or if you want, you can maybe put it into a module, separate module that Yeah, so there's different things you can do to avoid this. Just take it. Try not to do this. But I think we know everybody knows that it's better to avoid misusing comments for what comments are not meant for.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go on.
Yes.
So this is about writing good README files. So there's going to be a bit of hands-on-ish part. We'll have a couple of exercises here. So the important thing to say about READMEs is that READMEs are the first thing that a user sees when they visit your code page on GitHub or GitLab or whatever. Okay, and also since it's an imperative, it's written in all capitals. Even if I get just the code from someone and on my computer, and I look at the directory and I see that there's a README file, then I'll typically go to that thing first. Okay, yeah, so it's quite important for this reason. So I would like to show this thing right away. So have fun testing some README features. I will do this interactively, like with some. I will just copy this into this URL in another browser window, and then I will go to GitHub and see if I just to show you how. Yeah, so I have my my own. I'm in my own GitHub account, and I created just a new repository with the README so that I can test these things quickly. So I will create something like this repository needs to be my repository. Then I will say README example. Example. Okay, just I'll call it README example 2. I thought I actually renamed the other there, but it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I will add a README so that I can go, it's public also, so it's fine. README, yeah, README repository. Okay. And now I want to open here this README and modify it and try some cool stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so Mikaela is going to show us some markdown, some README files in the Git repo. Of course, you can do it in a local editor, like VS Code or something else.
Yeah, the cool thing about doing this here on GitHub is that then I have a preview, which
Yes.
may not be that easy on your local computer, let's say.
Yeah.
So first thing is that we can have like different highlights, different text highlighted in different ways. Okay, so if you want to stress some information in addition to what we have already seen with the bold, italics, and sections. So these are some interesting features here. I can see the preview here. So yeah, warning, important notes. There's other things. If you look at the notes, actually here, you can see that there's more kind of. If you want to really be colorful in your README, you can do that. Yeah. So, but we can. There are other things. One thing which I want to show you now is this. So wait a moment. I will need to slightly correct this because there was. Okay, so here, what I've done is that I have pasted some text, which actually, if you know anything about HTML, well, this looks like HTML code, and it is indeed HTML code. And what it does is this. So I have basically a short summary visible, okay, and then if I click on this, also I have some text which becomes visible only when I click, okay, and so this is a way that you can hide details that maybe can be omitted in the first reading of your README, for example. It's a way to structure a README in yet another way. And this is an example of the fact that you can use HTML code in principle in Markdown files. That's actually something that Markdown recommends. Markdown is a simple format. So if you want to do something more fancy, well, the recommendation used to be just write inline HTML, and so that's the reason why it's possible. Nowadays, I would say maybe the more recent flavors of Markdown have also some features that allow you can spare you from actually writing inline HTML code in the Markdown. But yeah. Yeah, now there's some cool things, at least things that look cool. We'll go for badges. Badges. What is a badge? So if I put something like this in my code, in my README, well, this is actually a link, and this is a link to a little picture. So you can see that there are links. So this will be just a link, okay, if you remove the exclamation mark. But with the exclamation mark, this is a link to a picture. Let's look how it looks like, okay? And yeah, so here, then I have a link to a picture that it will be rendered just like a picture. And I can, if you want, I can click on it, okay? And well, but it's not that I get much out of this. It's just a picture, okay? But I can also create something a bit more fancy, which is like a picture that links to something else, to another page. For example, here I have created I have the picture that I had described above that links to this other address, example.org. So let's have a look, preview. And yeah, so the first one is the one that has no real link attached to it. The second has instead a link to another page, which is example.org. And yeah, so this can be useful if you want to have some. I mean, you will see badges later, but the idea is these badges are like quick to find entry points to some other things on the web, which could be, if you have a test suite, or if you have if you have a test suite, for example, you want to link there the results of your test suite, you can do that. If you have some coverage reports, if you have other things, if you have a way to say if it's repository at some Jupyter notebooks and you want to link a binder setup so that you can run those Jupyter notebook interactively in the web, yeah, you can put these links using you can have this kind of links with the badges instead of just having plain links. Yeah. So now we have some time for an exercise. So let's have a look at. I need to get back to this. So we have an exercise block. Let's say there are these two exercises, README 2 and README 3. In the first case, if you have a project on your own with the README, you may want to spend some time improving it or just testing some features that we just shown on your own README file. If you don't own a project, I don't know, if for any other reason this thing doesn't work for you, you can choose a README for a project that you have used, okay, and write and write in the notes what are the strengths and what you think you would change, or some observations about this in the notes, which I will switch to. And yeah, for those of you who want to discuss, which have no clear idea what to discuss, we do have actually a suggestion of a relatively nice.
Yeah, I'm adding them to the notes.
To the notes, yeah. So I would say as we switch now to the notes, let's scroll down, okay. So we should have a 10-minute exercise break for this. So I'll put also here in the notes a link to the exercises. Yeah, so let's let you do this. So the exercises are, wait, I'll close this one just not to confuse anybody. Leave page, and then here. So either draft or improve a README of a project, or comment on a README that you have used. If you have nothing to comment on, please use the link that we provide here. And yeah. So let's see let's see each other in 10 minutes. And we are back. So I guess we can look at can have a look at the notes. Okay, there have been some questions about the badges. I think we've been discussing those, answer them. Okay, so there's this question about what tools can I use to properly render markup language on a README file on my computer. Well, maybe a README is not exactly, but if you are using, well, we can use Sphinx, and then you can render Markdown files in the Sphinx documentation on your computer. We'll show how to do this. Regarding the exercises, there has been, so have a look. Let's have a look at this README file. Okay, this is an example that Tian Yu has found, and it's a I think it's an interesting one. What would you say, Tian Yu?
Yeah, I would say about this project purpose is very obvious. It's a tool you use to convert PDF files to some machine readable formats like Markdown, HTML, or JSON. So I think the project introduction is very easy to read.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to put the project introduction above, just before the changelog. I like the changelog, very nice, but I would like to put it. I mean, just because if I know that what this is, okay, then I don't need the introduction. But if I land on this page like this and say, okay, so
yeah, it's more natural to have it at the beginning.
Yeah, but I guess because I'm a user that does not know what this project is about. I guess instead, if I could be a user, and other users maybe they would like to see the changelog first, maybe.
Yeah. And we can see a lot of badges here, quite a
Yeah,
few.
it's a really colorful. Yeah, and yeah, you can see, for example, here open issues. That is 100. So if you click there, then it will bring you to the issue page. So I think that these badges are provided by GitHub. Yeah, this one, open issues, close the issues. Then, for example, this opening Colab, yeah, possibly it's a badge that would be possibly provided by Colab. Let's see. I mean, you can actually see if you look at this README where what is. So you can see that link that this points to, but you can also see the image, where the image comes from. Just referring to some questions that we had in the pod before.
Yes. We have a question in the notes. One of the READMEs has link to the wiki in the GitHub repo. I suppose it's talking about this README, the manner you. Is this a good idea? Well, I would say yes. Yeah, I think this is a deep wiki. If you go a bit upper, no, a bit lower. Sorry.
A bit lower, so maybe I can search for wiki with Control F.
Yes,
okay.
it has a link to this.
Okay.
I would say it is a good idea, because you can't have a very long README file. It will be difficult to read. If you have something more, some more content, and a deep wiki is one of the options. What do you think, Miguel?
Yeah, I would say that the thing is that a wiki, I mean, we said that we don't like wikis. It's not that we don't like wikis, it's just that wikis have the problem that may not be, they may be a bit hard to keep in sync with the code. And so what I can say here is that it makes sense to have a link to a wiki if it's, or even to have any information, any content in a wiki, if it doesn't change very often, or if it's something very stable, let's say. Okay.
Yeah, but in general, if you have much more content, then link to another more structured, easy to navigate documentation is a good idea, but maybe wiki is not the best choice. Yeah, but we have
Yeah,
many
but I
other
mean,
options.
depends. So there are trade-offs. Wikis are
Yeah.
easy to modify for non-developers, and that's why they
Yes.
exist, basically.
Yes.
Okay. I think we've been active for 1 hour, and I think everybody here deserves a little break because we
Yes.
are facing the computer, we're sitting, and so I guess we will have a 10-minute break. And during
Yes.
this break, I would recommend really for to reactivate your cardiovascular system or whatever it works for you. But yeah, yeah. So anything we need to say before that? We just say
I think that's all. Maybe let's see each other in 10 minutes.
great.
Yeah.
So then, bye.
Bye.
Hello. Welcome back. I hope you had a refreshing break. So I need to apologize possibly for not being too clear about what needs to be done in this exercise. I will try to be clear in what follows. So before we move on to other topics, we have still to say one thing about README files, and especially about Markdown and different formats. So if your README file is very long, you may want to have a table of content there. And GitHub use at least to automatically generate a table of content for README files. And on GitLab instead, you may have to generate a table of content using this little directive here, let's say. And if you instead are using a restructured text, then you can use this snippet of code, let's say, by adding at some point in your README this this code. Okay, so now we are going to talk about something a bit more complex and more powerful than README files, which is Sphinx. Which is one of those documentation generators that we mentioned before. Okay, and so the objectives for this section is to understand how static site generators build website out of plain text files, not only Sphinx, but there's many other siblings, let's say. And we are going to do it. We are going to create an example of a documentation system, documentation corpus with Sphinx, and we are going to learn some Markdown along the way, some special kind of Markdown. One thing to notice is that actually this very lesson that I'm sharing now, it's been built with Sphinx, so it's something that so this is if you want to be basically in front of your very high eyes, there is a real example of Sphinx. Okay, so I'll guide you through a series of steps to create your first Sphinx project. Okay, and in order to do that, though, I'm going to first of all switch my share to a terminal where I will run some commands. And in order for you to follow along, you should have a CodeRefinery code environment installed. And in the notes, we have that there should be already some links that just to make sure you can follow along. If you have problems, maybe you can ask in the Zoom support room. Okay. One thing I need to say is that Conda may be not the only way you have to install the necessary software for this, but it's like the most convenient, so that's why we chose that. I will now keep the notes aside and show you an empty terminal, which is a bit daunting for some people, but that's a very natural way to interact with a computer, at least for me. And I'm going to type some commands. So first of all, I need to conda activate CodeRefinery. So in this way, I activate the conda environment for CodeRefinery, and this will give me the possibility to use the commands I want to use, the things around Sphinx, basically. Okay, you see that my prompt has changed here, and I'm happy about that. So we should check just if Python is available. These are commands that you should run on your, if you want to follow along, I'm going to be quite slow. You should try to type these commands and see if there's any error. So your output could vary a little, but you shouldn't see any errors when you run these few commands that I'm going to type. Python version. This is just to check that Python is installed and works. Then the other thing we need to look at is Sphinx build. Sorry. Let's check the version again. Yeah. Here I have version 8.2.3. You may have a different version. It's still okay. Then another thing we need to use is the so-called Sphinx quick start. It's the same version. It's expected. Okay. And the last thing. Sorry, can someone else?
Yeah, and yeah, I have
take for a moment.
7.4. I have the version 7.4, but it also works. Yeah, by checking with versions, we can, if we spot something strange, we may know it may come from the version difference. Yeah. And after that, we will run some small command, some simple thing to check out if we have the necessary extensions of Sphinx also installed here. Yeah, with the pattern command.
Yeah, this is the shortest possible Python program. Let's say if it works without errors, then it means that we are okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's okay.
And now, if my throat allows me, we should be able to start our first Sphinx project. Okay. So for that, I will create a new directory called doc example. Okay. I will also need to change my directory, my current directory, to that. Okay. So that I am inside it. Okay. So this is very important. And then I can invoke this command, Sphinx quick start, that I already used before. Sphinx dash quick start without arguments this time. This command is going to give me an interactive, quick interactive, short interactive session where it asks me some questions, and I'll show you. So I will just zoom out a little so that it's more readable. So it will ask me if we want to separate the source and the build directories. So the source for the documentation and for the build, because the documentation is going to be built in HTML files. It's okay if we accept the default option, which is no, so we don't split anything. Then project name. So here I need to type something. I will say Sphinx test. Okay, and it's okay. Author name. There could be one more than one. I will just put my name here. Then enter. Project release. I should possibly give a version here. We'll put 0.1. Of course, this is not a. Yeah, it's just an example. So, okay, 0.1. And then I have another question here, which is about the project language. I will make sure it's visible. English is okay. Okay, so now I got back my prompt, my shell prompt. And if I look at the content of the current directory, I see that something has been created by Sphinx. Okay. So I will comment on some of these. There's conf.py. So Sphinx is a Python package that still works with Python. So it needs Python. Conf.py is contains the configuration of my project, which extensions I need, other things. So a lot of the things that you decide here, you tell the quick start facility about it. They are going to end up in this configuration.py file, and you may have to change it later if you want to add to have some more features, let's say. That there's index.rst, possibly the most important file here. It's the root of the documentation here. It's the first page of the documentation, and it also will contain all the links to the other parts of it. Okay. Then there is a directory called _build, which is the one by default where the HTML files are going to end. And what else? Yeah, okay, so there's a makefile. A makefile is something that you can use on Linux and Mac OS. And it contains, we're not going to use it today, but in principle, there's a list of commands you can use to automatically generate the documentation with just make something. And make.bat is something for Windows users instead. But yeah, okay. So what we're going to have a look at now, it's we're going to look at index.rst. Now, in what follows, I'm going to use an editor. And the editor I use is Vim because I like it. But you can use any editor you want. So when you see Vim, you don't have to type Vim. You can open it with, let's say, Code. If you want to use Visual Studio Code, you can use Code, for example. So what I want to do now is to have a look at the content of index.rst. Okay, so there's also Nano. Let's do this. I will use Nano because I don't want anybody of you to end up in Vim and become a prisoner of that. So Nano index.rst. So this is a way to open it with Nano. Okay, so this is the skeleton of an index file of the main page. So it has quite some like some documentation, some directives that are actually not going to be printed. But then there is this title line, okay, a paragraph. There's also a link, okay, and then there is a table of content here, actually a tree, something which is a table of content tree, okay, and so if you have an older version of Sphinx Quick Start, actually you get some additional content here which we do not care. So you could have an indices and tables section, but we don't need it, so you can remove it. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, since I want to add some content to the documentation to show what are the possibilities, I will add here a file name called some feature.md. Meaning maybe this is a file called in a markdown file. So this is just a name. I will create the file later. So this in this file called some feature.md, I may be describing the feature of of my code. Let's say. One thing to notice, I'm typing it here, and it needs to be indented at the same level as caption. So here there are three empty, three spaces, and before caption here, and then needs to be three spaces here as well. So this is restructured text, and restructured text is like white space aware, like Python. Okay, so I can also add a space if I want, just for clarity, but there needs to be always the same indentation level. Okay. 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 And now I can save this in whatever way my editor allows me to do so, and so save and exit. Now I need to open conf.py, the configuration file, and I need to go down to the line where the extensions are listed. And the extension I need to add here is the myst parser. Okay, so this is the extension that I need in order for Sphinx to parse the markdown files I'm going to create. Okay. Okay.
So the syntax here is exactly Python syntax, right? It's a dictionary in Python.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, extensions in this case, it's a list, which a list of strings, and each string is the name of a package. Okay. Yeah. And I will save and exit. Okay. So these are the two files I modified. First, index.rst, adding some features.md, and then adding conf.py. Okay. Good. And now I mentioned before I wanted to add a file called some feature.md. So I will do exactly that. No. Open this plain text file, and in the interest of time, I will go to the notes, which I can possibly show here, and I take this text here that is available, copy it. There's actually a copy button. Copy that and paste it here. Okay. And I leave it like this, but maybe I should comment a bit. So you see that there's a main title of the file, let's say, of the page. Notice that this is a different thing. This is a markdown. It's not restructured text now. So main title, title of the subsection, and then the paragraph, and then there are there's like a list. There are lists. One thing to notice that the empty surrounding lines are required in this flavor markdown for you to understand that these are items in the same list. Okay. And yeah, so we need to be careful about white space here. So we'll save now and exit. Okay. I will clear my terminal and show again the content of this directory. So now everything should be fine. if I want, I can try to build with Sphinx build. So with Sphinx build, I need to pass two arguments. The first one is the source of the documentation, and the other is the destination. So the build documentation will end up in the underscore build directory. We'll see. Okay, everything has worked. So what can I do now? I can open. So if I now go to build, let's do with an ls will build. There's many things there, but the most important is index.html. So if I open that with a browser, then I should see my HTML documentation. So how do I do this? On Linux, I use XDG. That's supposed to work on Linux, and then build index.html. So this is Linux. Okay. On Mac OS, you can use just open. Okay. So if I do just open, this works also on Linux, but Mac OS Linux maybe. So if you are on Windows instead, you should use, and you still do this from the terminal, you can use start. Okay. Okay. Since I'm on Linux, I will go back here and I just type xdg and say that this is Linux. And somewhere in, so I have quite some message here. What has happened, and I'll show you now, is that on my in my browser, I got a I managed to open my documentation, which has so this is the index, which is what was generated out of index.rst, and then if I click here on the left, I have some feature, and that's the content of the file that I just created. Okay, and yeah, so if I zoom in or out, of course, the layout is going to change. Okay.
There's also a searching box generated that's generated automatically.
Yeah. So yeah, searching is a very important feature. So should I check, like, if I want to go back here and say okay. So I guess it yeah, it gives me pages that are matching this feature. So it's quite. I think the Sphinx feature testing is not the best, but it's still very useful. Very useful. Okay, so I will go back again to my browser, but now showing the exercises that we can work on. So we should have like a 20-minute session, a quite long exercise section. Maybe we should we try to short it to 15 minutes just to save some time? Do you agree? Can you?
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes is a better choice.
Yeah, so if you manage to follow along so far, you should have now a scaffold of a Sphinx project, okay? And you should be able to add some additional files. And in these files, in this text file, you should be able to try different features like links, tables, numbered lists, code blocks, and then also try LaTeX. And yeah, so equations. So these are so this is a chance to actually get used to Markdown and its most important features. There's then a third exercise about Sphinx Autodoc. Here you need to create an additional example.py file that no, sorry, example Python module, which is which you will store in a file called multiply.py. You need to put this stuff. I mean, the idea is that you put this content in the file, and you see that there is a doc string written actually in a structured text, and so you can make so that your Sphinx project actually harvests this this code, this doc string, by modifying the configuration in the way that's written here, and also you need to modify your index, and then you can rebuild the documentation. You should see an additional page with the API reference for this very small and simple module. So we'll put links of to the possibly they are already there. Okay, so we have this exercise section.
Yeah, can you go a bit upper to the latex block?
Yeah, yeah.
I think the configuration, the extensions, yeah, here for different versions of Sphinx, it might be a bit different. For older Sphinx version, you may need this Sphinx .ext.messagex. For the new version, maybe this is not very necessary, but it doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can try without changing the configuration or as you wish. But yeah, this shouldn't be needed if you have a very recent. So if you are using a very recent version of Sphinx, it doesn't. It shouldn't work. Shouldn't be needed. So I'll let you go to the exercises, and we should reconvene in 15 minutes. So I will switch to the notes, perhaps. Wait. Yeah, so the notes are here. Okay, so see you in 15 minutes and have fun.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back. I hope you had an interesting, you found the exercises on Sphinx interesting. We will head into a break soon, but first we would like to discuss a little points about Sphinx, more about this, and then give a glimpse of what's going to happen after the break. So one thing, so if you're confused about restructured text, Markdown, and MyST, so the idea is that restructured text is the oldest format, and Sphinx was built for it. Okay, then Markdown was independently developed because someone wanted something simpler, and so Markdown became more and more popular because of its simplicity, but it was limited compared to restructured text. And then MyST was created as a flavor of Markdown that would sort of unify the two things, at least in the Sphinx for the Sphinx toolings. Okay. Regarding good practices, I would say. So the build directory, which is the one where we store our documentation, well, that one should not be under version control. So you should not git add that directory. So you can still have it in the directory, but it shouldn't be in the repository. Okay, it shouldn't be added to the repository. Okay, so we recommend you add this directory to your gitignore, so you don't accidentally add these files to your repository. There are also some tools that allow you to automatically refresh the view every time you make a change. So there's Sphinx auto build, okay. And also, if you have links in your documentation, you want them to be checked automatically to make sure that they actually point at something. There is this minus. There is this link check utility that is pretty useful and pretty time saving. Okay. So what are we going to do after the break? Which is going to be like
After
3
the
minutes.
break, we should, well, we have all the stuff locally tested. After break, we can try to deploy it on the internet. Then you
Using
can share
GitHub.
it. Yes, we will use GitHub as a demo.
Yeah. And so we will have a page on github.io.
Yes.
Right, and so on. Okay, so shall we just head into a 10 minutes break for the same reasons I mentioned before, like cardiovascular health and attention, retention.
Yeah.
So I'll switch maybe to the notes. Wait, the notes. Go to the bottom and yeah. So see you in 10 minutes then.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
And the next topic is deploying Sphinx documentation to GitHub Pages. We have everything tested locally. Now it's time to share it with people. Then by serving it on a website. GitHub is a convenient way to do this. You have the other options like a GitLab or the other like a Bitbucket. We will use GitHub here. So 2 services we're going to use to realize this. First one is GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages serve websites from your GitHub repo. And the GitHub Actions will also be used. It automatically runs code when you push something or some people send a pull request. You can configure it to do this. We will see it later. So basically, so in real world, you may need to push the stuff local to the remote repo in GitHub. But here we will use a template for this.
To save some time.
This. Yes. So you can see, okay, I will keep this a little bit slower such that you can code along. Maybe I should go back again. So this is the link I clicked, the documentation example. And you can see here is a template from CodeRefinery. We'll use that and make a copy to our own repo. I will give it a name like maybe docs example. Okay, that's available. Yes, create the repository. It will take a few seconds. Okay, so here is the content. We can see there's a source folder. Here you're supposed to have your source code for your project, for example, Python code or some other language. And the doc folder is where the documentation is. You can see these files are exactly the same showed by Michaela in the demo, the index file and the configuration file. So this is a typical file structure. You can see that there is a short README file here. But in order to let GitHub Pages to host this thing, we need to create a configuration file for it to use. I will create a file. So create a new file. We will give it name. The path should for the file should be GitHub. I will tap slash, then it will go to the next level, which is workflows. This name should be fixed. It's the standard of GitHub. Then the file name could be something you like yourself. Documentation, I will use this, and the extension should be YAML or YML or YAML. So that's the file. I will copy the content from our material. So this is a configuration file used by GitHub Pages. There's a name, documentation, and this line is telling Git Actions to do the automatic update when people are pushing or sending pull request. Workflow dispatch means you can manually run the workflow. And we give it a read permission because we need to have Git pages to read something to the build folder. We can see something. Yeah, if you're not very familiar with Git Actions, don't worry. Well, I usually don't write this thing myself. I just copy it from somewhere.
Yeah, and then amend it and change something. Just
yeah, and make some changes. So it runs on a Ubuntu server provided by GitHub. It's a virtual machine, I think. And there are some actions. Actions are some programs people wrote, and we reuse it here. So, and then there's some other commands we write here, and we specify here. Firstly is install dependencies. In our case, we need to install Sphinx and Mr. Parser and something else. And then the next step is Sphinx build. This is the command you saw, what Michaela showed. In that case, it's from the present folder, so it's a dot here. But in this case, the file system is a little bit different. The contents for the documentation are in a doc folder, so it's from doc, and the HTML files will be created in the build folder as before. And then the last step is deployed to a GitHub page. We're still reusing something written by the other people. Yeah, and here are some arguments for Git action to use. So the first thing is from which branch you're going to deploy the GitHub page. In this case, or by default, it's GH pages. And the GitHub token is something generated by GitHub, I think. And this is the folder from where the static files should be. And this false often means means that the this branch will be created without parents. So I will copy this stuff and go back to here and paste it here. I think I don't need to modify anything here. I will just commit the changes. So I will commit it directly to the main branch. So Git actions will follow the instructions in the configuration file. Let's go back. But there's some other things we need to set up, which is from which branch Git action should deploy the web page. As we have seen in the configuration file that the branch should be the GH pages. Yeah, from the root of this branch to deploy the web page. So I will save this. Okay. Now let's go back. We can see there's already some actions. If I click actions, we can see there's already action finished, and another one is why it's waiting.
But sometimes I guess
Okay,
okay, so it
yeah,
seems that
okay.
it's
Yeah, I
ready now.
refreshed and it's done now. Okay, we should have a link to the web page here, but we need to set up this a bit. Yeah, you can tap it here, but it can also be automatically filled by clicking this. I'll save the changes. So then this is the link, the URL to the web page, which is your GitHub name and then the project name. Let's check this out. Yeah, so this is the content of the documentation. Very similar as the local one. Okay. I think we can make a little bit change to the file to see to the markdown file to see if anything changed from the web page. I will simply add more items. I will commit the changes. And this should trigger another Git action. Yes, we can have a look at what's going on here actually.
So the workflow here is running all the steps in the job.
Yes.
And oh, it did already I think it did already everything.
Yeah.
This case, it's been quite quick. It's
Yeah,
not always so quick.
it's very quick. But it may
Yeah.
take a few seconds to yeah, but it will take a few. Oh, okay, that's
Okay.
also very quick. So we can see item 4 and item 5 added here.
Yeah, it can take up to a minute or so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
sometimes it's slower. Yeah, that's basically a simple workflow for the deployment by using GitHub. That's yeah, that's steps here. Okay, so we're done with this.
So if there's any questions, I think that someone is trying to follow along and they are struggling a little. Yeah, we did. I think I think that the part to the configuration of the action, I think we described quite well. I don't know if there's anything we should look again, but maybe we can do it later.
Yeah, I think yeah, we can use the extra minutes to recap these things.
Yeah.
Should we like wrap up stuff today and maybe use some time after that to if someone want to stay, we can use that time to recap something or
I
do
can stay.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want just to stress how this GitHub Actions is a very interesting tool because it allows you to really automate a lot of tasks around software development on GitHub. Here we have been using it for building your documentation and then deploying it. But you can do many more things like running test suite and so on. And it's cool also the fact that you can reuse as the like actions that other people have written. So yeah, it's the composability is nice, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
what could we talk a bit about? So this lesson has actually other things we could talk about, but I think we should give a bit of time for feedback and for to introduce also what's going to happen next week. But yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry, it's going a bit too faster. But you can also join the help sessions later, and then we can maybe redo something.
All right. Thank you, Michele, and you for today. If there was one thing that you would like people to take from today's lesson, what would it be? What would you like people to take home?
Well, I mean, we covered a lot of things. So I hope possibly I can choose. Can I choose two? Can I choose two things?
Yes, you
One
can
is
choose two.
one is I think just how to use just how to start using Sphinx. Because this is actually I think very similar to other tools, and if you learn a bit the workflow here, I think you'll be fine. Also with other tools, and also I think in general about README files, yeah, that know that you can do more. That there are options to to organize your documentation with the README files, with links, with so all the features that Markdown itself only gives you, just alone gives you for just making your README easier to use. Yeah.
Right. And the materials, if you go through the links that we shared in the collaborative notes, include like a walkthrough of everything that both Michele and you went through today. So if you think it went too fast, then sorry for that. But know that you can always go back to the material and follow step by step there. And let me just check where I added it. I didn't. Okay, I also have one quick news section. I'll add that to the end of the document. So also know that the CodeRefinery people, the CodeRefinery community, we actually have a Zulip chat where we're hanging out and where you can also, where you're very free to join us, and you can still ask questions in that chat also about the workshop. The link is now in that blue box. So if you want to like go through the exercises yourselves afterward and there's something coming up, know that you can join there, or also during the next session, next Wednesday, feel free to bring a question from this session. Like it does not have to be necessarily about next week's session. And yeah, thank you so much everyone for today. Thank you to our great instructors for guiding us through the lesson. I really hope that you took something away from it. And especially something that you can also take into your own daily work as a researcher who codes. And next week, we'll look into Jupyter notebooks. So we'll have same time, same place, a session about Jupyter notebooks, which in some sense is also a way of documentation, or can be, or visualization. And I know many of you probably say that, oh, but Jupyter notebooks, I know that, I've used that in some course. Even if you think that, I think there's still something new also part of the session, so I would still recommend to join and find out. We have also added, and it is visible on the stream, yes, in the very bottom of the document, a feedback for today. So we know now already that some of you found it a bit too fast. That is also good to let us know here, that so that we have it documented. And then also share a bit like one thing that was good about today, one thing you liked about today's session, and one thing that we should make sure to improve for next time. So, and if you have any other feedback, and you can also still add questions here. So we will leave the document open still for a while today and try to answer the questions. And then the document will be archived on our event page. And yes, we see that there is too fast, but it is a lot of things in a short time. If you feel like that you would rather have a longer session, that's also something to let us know. Like, we are always trying to develop these workshops, and we try to find a good balance between the amount of stuff that we want to show you, the amount of stuff, of cool stuff, of stuff that we really like, and then also to not keep you here for too long, because we also know that there is this Zoom fatigue going on, and the longer a course is, the like you always have then some people dropping out. But do let us know if you feel like that you would like longer sessions on this, and we can consider it. Anything you would like to still say, Michele, and you?
I've talked a lot, so I will leave you to say something first, then I may,
Yeah, I mean, documentation is something you need to start from small. You don't need to at the first place to make a very nice, very beautiful documentation, or even using Sphinx. You can start from in-code documentation, and then improve from there to a README file or some other format. And when the project scales up, and you need to make a more complex documentation, then move to Sphinx. It's a matter of iterations. So yeah, I would say don't be stressful. Start from something basic, and yeah, iterate a lot. And encourage people, your colleagues, to contribute to the documentation.
Yeah, I'd say that. Well, I think one thing I want to add to this is, yeah, we try to spend some time on the tools. I think that it's also there's also a lot of practice and a lot of like politics around documentation, because documentation is not something you do only once. It's you create a website with either a README or a website with Sphinx, and then no, I mean, as you need to keep it up to date, and uh, it's difficult, and it can be work, and you need to keep that in mind, I would say. Yeah,
All
and
right.
so the idea of keeping documentation close to your source code, of course, makes things easier in this sense. But then I think there are also some tools to make documentation nicer. So, for example, if you have easier to maintain, for example, Jupyter Notebooks next week, I think there are ways to include Jupyter Notebooks in your documentation, and so that you can write tutorials using Jupyter Notebooks. And yeah, it's a bit advanced, it's a bit complicated, but then you have all the toolings around Jupyter Notebooks, which is like validations. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. So um, yeah.
All right. Now we're two minutes over time.
Yeah.
So let's officially close here, but we'll still hang out here for a moment. And for those of you who are interested in hosting your own website on GitHub, you has agreed that you can still show us how to do that. So the last session of today, so you can stick around and maybe not type along, but at least see what it's all about. And then we'll also end here. But thank you so much for joining today, and looking forward to, well, not really seeing, but meeting you in the notes doc next week for Jupyter. Okay, and I think we just continue with you screen share, right?
But yeah, I think Yana is needs to.
Well, you're still, I think
Okay.
it's
So yeah,
your
well,
screen.
okay.
Sorry.
So are we ready to quit the stream? And
No,
Oh,
let's
sorry.
go through the hosting part still for 5 minutes, if that's
Oh,
okay.
sorry. So we're already a bit over time. I cannot
sorry.
No,
stay
yes,
for another
we
5
ended
minutes.
already.
Okay.
We ended already officially, but this is now just extra for those
Okay,
that
sorry,
want to.
I'm not following. So okay, hello. So you want to continue for another 5 minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that
Okay, so then I will not close the stream. Okay,
Thank you.
good. That's good to know. Sorry.
yeah, should I maybe recap something from this? So basically, I think it might be confusing because we actually use the two services from GitHub, the GitHub Pages and the GitHub Actions. So we basically need to configure both. Yeah. To configure GitHub Actions, we added this file, this YAML file, to configure Git Actions. That's for Git Actions to follow the steps to follow to.
And we commented quite a lot on this, I think, right? I think we were clear on the meanings of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing, and yeah. In addition to the contents, another thing we did is to configure Git Pages. So which is this part. So from where to store the built files and from where to deploy the website. I don't know if that's clear.
I hope so. I guess that, yeah, we were a bit fast, but I think that if people look at the notes, everything is explained relatively clearly there. I think quite clearly there.
Yeah. So basically two things, Git Actions and Git Pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you also still want to show the hosting, the last lesson?
The hosting personal or project websites on GitHub Pages. That's
You mean
the last page of the
home page.
Go to the next. Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to host a web page, we can also host a home page for ourselves. Because the steps are very clear from GitHub's documentation. So we would recommend following those instructions to try out to host your own homepage on GitHub. That's this part.
Yeah. So basically, it can take the README, if I understand correctly, you can take the README of your that you have in a repository, which needs to have a specific name, and then out of that, it will create automatically a web page for you, or for your project. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So there's some very clear instructions. It's not using Sphinx, but the default skill. Jackie to deploy this website. Yeah.
So if someone wants to try it out, they can follow the instructions on the website, and if there are any questions, ask next week or in our chat that is linked from the notes.
Yes, if you have any questions regarding this or the Sphinx hosting, then ask. Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I think, are we ready to close the stream for today?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then let's do
Thank
that.
you for everybody for
Sticking
attention.
around.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you
And
very
see ya.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.